Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday evening masterclass. Today is the 5th of July, and I'm back after a break. Thank you for your patience. I had to take this break last week, my first in 4 years, so I appreciate your support. As of now, I'm committed to supporting the Teachers Academy, so I only work on Fridays and Saturdays. Sundays is taken care of Manisha, and that's how the Good School Alliance team is building up their core and capacity to serve you even better. So, before we begin today, I wanted to share certain elements of our web and other parts which I thought were interesting for us to share with you. First and foremost, let's head to the Good Schools Alliance website. I hope everyone's familiar with this website. We've had some improvements done on the website. We keep doing them. The homepage is almost the same. Leaving aside Krista's here, our program have become condensed. So we now only work on weekends, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday evenings we have a meeting which all coordinators must attend. So if you're a Good Schools Alliance coordinator from your school, make it a point to attend the Monday meeting. It will add to your delivery at your school. We've also announced our participation in the School News Global Ed Fest, and that's it. So there's not much change. What I really wanted to show you was the impact study. So when I was on leave, I got time and break from what we do, and on 27th of June, we released the first comparative review, comprehensive review of what we are doing. I suggest you find time to read it. It will really give you a better understanding of why you're doing what you're doing with us. It's a little story about what the Good Schools is about and what you can do to improve a culture of learning in your school. It's just a short report and it's available on the impact page. Next, I wanted to share the Teachers Academy. So, first, thank you to the people who submitted some good piece of writing and research. I'm glad you're finding tools useful. I'm happy that you're able to use AI. I'm even happier that you're able to do cross referencing. You're able to do things which we want you to do. We are not the ones who are saying we don't want you to use AI. We are saying please use AI. And I keep saying our goal is better reading. Our goal is better reflection, and our goal is building relationship. And AI for me means all in. It doesn't mean what you guys think. So if you have it all in you, there will be resilience. You are watering your inner core, and that's why we are here at the Teachers Academy. That's an important part. So last few days there have been some interesting submissions, and I suggest you people try and attempt and read those. There is a very interesting one on 30th June from Sunbeam Grameen School. Thank you, Swati. Thank you, Ravi Prakash, for sharing your thoughts. There is a post which has come in from Faizan. Faizan, thank you. We are so happy you are continuing your journey at the Learning Forward Academy. Then there's Imran, our rock star, who did some beautiful video podcasts with us last year. I think they collaborated and did things which is good, and I'm glad you're finding these references in the articles of use. So do have a look at these posts. I have just done a cursory review of the website for you, which is called happyteacher.in. So I have given you a connection here, how you can do your writings and submissions. Please have a look here. On the website, we have a little video. Do play it. Why we are a Learning Forward affiliate, and some interesting posts which are trending. Have a look. Some good reading. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And we are almost reaching 20 lakh page views. So perhaps this is of interest to people who want numbers and statistics. I think this is a very substantial page view, and this page view is increasing fastest. It's even increasing faster than the Learning Forward's original website, which is the core website, which is 12 years old. And it's also going very fast as compared to the My Good School writing or the Joy of Learning diaries. So even if you look at My Good School also, they're doing very well. They've had about 10 lakh page views. Now Teachers Academy is senior. It was established before. We were earlier known as the Learning Forward India Academy, but we rebranded to the Teachers Academy. So we have done very well there. And for me to show you the main website, which is the foundation website, I thought I'd show you that also because that is the only thing left. So this is the first foundation website which we created and which has stayed. Now the foundation website is a little different from the Good School Alliance website. It has compliances. It has what we use for corporate governance. So this is the third part of it. That's it. Let's get down to reading. Here we are. We started the chapter on awareness, and we have now had a break. Now we want to see how awareness comes about and what is the role of awareness in designing productive failure. We started with affect, we've come to awareness, and then we will move on to the other two A's. So the four A's of productive failure is what we are studying. I suggest in this term, when you are back in your school, do use these A's to design your productive failure. Humbled by a 6 year old, and here we go. Sometimes your young students, your young children, and young people just humble us totally. When my elder son Dev was 6 years old, he came back from kindergarten one day looking very upset. After much probing, he finally revealed the source of his anguish. Papa, I want to be either pure Indian or pure Chinese. I don't want to be half half, he admitted. You see, his mom is Singaporean Chinese and I am ethnically Indian. So I replied, Dev, that is not possible. Your mama is Chinese and your papa is Indian. So you are half Indian and half Chinese. He got even more upset. And much as I tried to comfort him, he would not accept my explanation. I was sure, though, that he would come around and finally accept the fact and the explanation for why he had a half Chinese and half Indian. Instead, that he argued next, blew my mind, retorting, "But, Papa, you are a boy and Mama is a girl. But I'm not half boy and half girl, right? I am a boy." There are some moments in one's life when you know your argument or explanation has been utterly and entirely demolished and humbled. That was one of those moments. I was so confident of my explanation, perhaps even overconfident, that I thought surely there was no counter to it, and certainly not from a 6 year old. Yet, at that moment, they showed me the flaw in my logic that sometimes A plus B can result in A or B and not necessarily a mix of both. So it's a fantastic productive failure example for Dr. Manu Kapoor. I have, of course, many wonderful memories from Dev's childhood, but there's a few that really stand out. This is one of them. Part of the reason for his standing out is that my 6 year old showed me the flaw in my logic. He made me aware of a clear gap in my thinking. I stood corrected, keenly aware of how and why I had failed. Another part had to do with the fact that I was perhaps overconfident of my logic to begin with, and that made my fall even more spectacular and memorable. And of course, the fact that a 6 year old did me in had a lot to do with it. I suppose it seems intuitive that we should remember our failures, especially if we were confident of succeeding to begin with. But are the lower confidence failures easier to correct than higher confidence ones? One line of argument, as noted earlier, would be to argue that the lower the confidence we have in our intuitive answers, the easier we should be able to change our minds when a counter explanation is provided. Another line of argument would predict exactly the opposite. The more confident we are that we are correct when in fact we were wrong, the greater the effect of failure on our awareness and the learning from the correction. The more money you put on a bet, metaphorically, not speaking, the more you would remember losing it. Which of these arguments hold up in scientific scrutiny? So here we go. Now we get a little analytical. In 2001, Brady, Butterfield, and Janet Metcalf designed a simple experiment to test precisely this idea. That is, if and how we learn from errors we make with high versus low confidence. So we're looking at errors which we commit with high confidence or low confidence. The dominant theories of error correction at the time predicted that errors we make with low confidence would be easier to correct than those we make with high confidence. It would be easier to shake off something we are not sure of in the first place than something we held strongly. To test their hypothesis, they had 19 undergraduate students answer general knowledge questions such as what poison did Socrates take at his execution? Or what is the capital of Canada? And so on. Each student was shown one side of an index card with a question on it. They had to read the question aloud, write down the answer, and then rate how confident they felt about their answer on a scale from -3, which is very unsure, to +3, which is very sure. Please watch how experiments are designed. And this is what our whole story about productive failure is. You have to design an experiment, and the author is giving you examples every time on how he designed experiments, to check what is effect, what is awareness, what is assembly. So all that he has explained, and you can pick up these core elements and experiments and maybe clone them. So if you look at the way he's designed this, the hypothesis, where he's looking at very unsure to sure. So you can design something like this. This went on until the student had at least 15 correct and 15 incorrect answers. After the first round, they had to solve a distractor problem, a logic problem that had nothing to do with the general knowledge questions. Recall from chapter 3 that distractor tasks are often used in psychological experiments to keep the participant's mind busy so that they do not rehearse or think about the material that was just presented to them, in turn, helping to capture the experimental effect more precisely. It's like giving a commercial break. So let's see how he does it. After 5 minutes of working on the logic problem, the experimenter surprised them with a final test of general knowledge using the same 30 questions in random order. Students read the questions to themselves, thought of not one but the first three answers that came to mind, wrote them down, rated their confidence in each, just like before, and marked one of these answers as their final choice. Only the final choice was scored as correct or incorrect. Butterfield and Metcalf found that high confidence errors were indeed better remembered than the low confidence errors because these errors turned up in the three answers in the final test more often than the low confidence answers. That is, people were more likely to remember errors they made with high confidence than with low confidence. This would explain why they recall them in the final test. However, contrary to the predictions of the dominant theories at the time, these higher confidence errors were also likely to be corrected. That is, even though high confidence errors showed up in the three choices on the final test, students still indicated the correct answer as their final choice, meaning that they were aware of both incorrect and correct answers. The same was not true for the low confidence errors. It seems that the beneficial effects of corrective feedback that helps us learn from the errors are stronger when we make these errors with high confidence. The reason is simple too. We will see in figure 4.5 when something we think we know with high confidence is corrected, we become even more aware of the gap in our knowledge. Think about this. When something we think we know with high confidence is corrected, which means your overconfidence is stemmed, you are humbled, like in that example. We become even more aware of the gap in our knowledge. I know this is not a good example, it's like getting a rap on the knuckles. Why? Because the error was made in high confidence. Its correction and awareness make us more aroused and focused on the mismatch and pay even more attention to and learn from the correction. Further studies, both behavioral and neuroimaging. They are words which you can look up. Let's see what neuroimaging is. I can't find a meaning. Let's see what the full definition is. I guess it's imaging of the brain. As well as recent integrative reviews have largely bolstered these findings and the underlying reasons as well. So there are references here. So there's an error, there's a correction, which means you become aware and then you have learning. Still, the above findings in the previous two sections apply to intuitively held examples, to simple problems or general knowledge questions. As concepts and ideas become more complex, more awareness of the gap, whether brought on by an impasse or failure, or more forcefully by an explanation or a humbled correction. So, impasse and failure we saw in the first A. So, in the second A, which is awareness, we are focusing more on the humbled correction because there's awareness is generated by explaining, may not be sufficient for learning. We need stronger experimental or external stimuli to turn our awareness of the knowledge gap into learning. So let's move on. The warmth above the clouds. You know, I always thought mountains were synonymous with bitter cold, a place where even the sun's embrace felt frosty. This belief was so ingrained in me that I would scoff whenever my close friend and colleague Pierre spoke of the warm, sunlit afternoons at his mountain chalet. You have to experience it to believe it, he'd say. But I never took his word for it. That was until I found myself standing on his terrace, high above the clouds. My skepticism about it turned on its head. Sorry, I think my book chapters got turned on the head. Pierre Chalet was nestled in the picturesque Swiss Alps, a setting straight out of a storybook. Yet all I could think about was how many layers I would need to keep the cold at bay. One late morning, with the sun shining bright, Pierre suggested we take our coffee outside. I remember laughing at the idea, bundling up as if preparing for an Arctic expedition. But as I stepped out onto the terrace, a different reality hit me. The sun, unfiltered and resplendent, bathed me in a warmth that felt almost surreal. It was a stark contrast to the chill I had braced myself for. Therefore, I was standing just in my t shirt, basking in the general warmth, thinking how wrong I had been in my thinking, and awareness that one can feel only in such moments. I assure you this is true because having climbed mountains and stood in sunlight on ice and snow, I have been in a t shirt. So I have done a lot of mountain climbing, and this is absolutely pure experience. The sun is so strong, and the UV hits you; it actually burns you. So you feel that if you're above the clouds in the mountains, you'll be cold. That's your thinking, but actually, the sun is very, very strong. So there is need to be awareness. So that's what he's tried to explain here as to what is awareness. It took a spectacular demonstration of the failure of my beliefs for me to become aware of such an embarrassing gap in my knowledge about the warmth above the clouds. However, I'm not alone in holding on such misconception. People in general hold on to a lot of misconceptions. A notoriously popular one is about what causes seasons. Most people from the walks of life, including Ivy League students, think that we have seasons because the earth is closer to the sun during the summer and farther in the winter. However, the truth could not be farther away. The real reason is that seasons are caused by the earth's tilted axis as the earth orbits the sun. This tilt causes different parts of the earth to receive more direct sunlight at different times of the year. When tilted towards the sun, we get more direct sunlight, longer days, and warmer temperatures. That is, we get summer. When tilted away, we get winter. Distance actually plays no role, especially in light of the fact that Earth is closest to the sun in the dead of winter during the first week of January. Interesting. Understanding and correcting misconceptions in science is a crucial aspect of education and general knowledge. It is also a prolific area of scientific research on how best to address misconceptions. For example, the way I set up and refuted the what causes seasons misconception is an example of one strategy called refutation text. The idea, as captured in figure 4.6 ahead, is not just providing the correct information, but also helping people recognize the gap in their own understanding. This is called awareness. This involves setting up the misconception, explicitly confronting and refuting it so that it creates an awareness of the knowledge gap, and then correcting it in the manner that is easy to understand so that we can learn the correct knowledge. This is called experiential learning. Researchers have developed and deployed a range of methods from textual materials and analogies to interactive simulations and visual mapping tools, all aimed at addressing scientific misconceptions. In 2023, meta-analysis of Kagatate Cassie, Ulas Ostron, and Omar Farouk Ozema looked at evidence from more than 200 experiments with more than 18,000 students to show a strong effect of a range of methods. Misconceptions can be addressed and effectively so. Sometimes one has to actually experience the refutation or conflict on a sunny day as a French chalet in the mountains to become aware of one's ignorance. Other times, it is best to be more pragmatic, and thankfully, research gives a lot of highly effective methods. So, these two examples which we have seen today, you could also create your own productive failure, like the Humboldt example, or the winter and the seasons example, or the mountain chalet example. So, these are examples which you could pick up and create your own productive failure, and how awareness was highlighted in your productive failure. The methods vary, but invariant across the methods are the critical features of their effectiveness. Engage students actively, confront existing misconceptions, create an awareness of a gap, and present scientific concept in a more accessible and relatable manner. Without confronting and knowledge gap awareness, the efficacy of the correct explanation is compromised. Much like in tutoring, correct explanations have an impact only when one is stuck and aware of their own ignorance. The same goes for correcting misconceptions. So let's have a look how misconceptions are addressed. First, a misconception arises. Then you are confronted, and confrontation gives you awareness. When you get awareness, you understand the explanation, and that's how learning happens. So when you go to the classroom next time, use confrontation and use explanation after that. And you will see the way you handle your class learning, it will be way better. We saw how the awareness that results from the impasse prepares us to learn from a well timed explanation. We saw how a similar dynamic unfolds when we engineer impasses, for example, in productive failure. But when we are not aware of an impasse or failure, we need to be counter explained or corrected. And in the case of misconceptions, even more systematic confrontation and explanation are necessary. So if you see in this experiment, a layer has been added. In impasse, you were only having confrontation, but now in awareness, explanation has come in. So we have moved ahead in designing a better learning model. So as we go ahead, when we talk of affect and assembly, you will see how the learning model improves. Taken together, it may seem that impasses, failures, errors, and misconceptions are necessary for us to become aware of our knowledge gap. At least that may well be the impression that comes through. If so, then I must correct it. Impasses, failures, errors, and misconceptions are sufficient but not necessary. If failure happens or is designed for, it can create an awareness of a gap. It is sufficient, but it is strictly not necessary. If it were necessary, then only failure could create awareness of the knowledge gap. That is not true. There are other things that also make us aware of our knowledge gaps. In awe of awe. In a world brimming with mysteries, what if the key to unlocking our thirst for knowledge lies not in the answers we find, but in the awe we feel of the unknown? It is not until recently in 2019 that the first studies testing the effect of awe or awareness of ignorance came out, revealing how the spine tingling sensation of encountering something vast and beyond our understanding, awe, can be a powerful catalyst for learning, particularly in science. You're in awe of someone, when you actually create a larger persona and awfully you see what effect it has on you. And that's the whole thing. You are awed. You are like bewildered, absolutely. Imagine watching a mesmerizing video of Earth's natural wonders, the kind that leaves you breathless, versus a light-hearted, humorous clip. Jonathan McFortes conducted a series of experiments with more than 1,300 participants, exploring the effect of these contrasting experiences. Participants were randomly assigned to one of two conditions. In the awe condition, participants had to watch from BBC's Planet Earth. In the control condition, participants watched the humorous video from BBC's War on the Wild Side. After watching the videos, all participants responded to the 7-item measure of knowledge gap awareness. Example, I asked myself, if I really understand how the natural wonders work, this activity makes me realize how much I don't know about nature and so on. And to an 8-item measure of science interests, Science magazine stories are interesting. As predicted, those who witnessed the awe inspiring scenes of nature consistently reported a heightened awareness of their own knowledge gaps. They realized there was so much more they did know about the world around them. This realization was not tinged with frustration or defeat. Instead, it sparked a deep, enthusiastic interest in science. In one of the studies, to gauge a better sense of interest, participants had to choose between tickets to the science museum or an art museum. Those bathed in awe from the natural world video overwhelmingly chose the science museum, as if the experience opened a door to a world of wonders waiting to be explored. This is interesting how a knowledge gaps challenges. Take, for example, what you're doing now with us. When we are reading with you, you would have definitely not read a book like Productive Failure in your normal course. You would have picked up some light-hearted banter in a book. Now, here we are reading to you Productive Failure in a way which will enlighten you. And I'm sure many of you are overawed by what you're reading here. In figure 4.7 suggests awe can make us aware of our knowledge gap and in turn increase our interest in bridging the gap. Then providing information explaining the awe-inspiring phenomena should reduce the interest to learn more. Perhaps not entirely, but once we have more information about the phenomena, we might be a little less interested to learn more because the thirst has been quenched somewhat. I'll take a pause here. That's my water break and mention to you a conversation which Manisha had with me. It's all about awe. So mentorship is all about awe. And I'm sure Manisha, with agree with the hypothesis. And I mentioned to her that Manisha, ask the 15 to 18 principals who have been in awe of working with me. And I'm taking a very selfish example. I assure you that if you keep up your reading, reflection, and better relationships, that's your secret mantra of becoming a principal soon. But the important part after that, don't give this up after you become principal. And that's where most of the principals reach a plateau. They somehow feel there is no designation or position beyond that. Well, we are not here for designations or position. We are aware for awareness. We are aware for our interest. We are aware for taking our learning forward and keep the fire in you going. Here we go. Jonathan McFitters tested this hypothesis in a follow up study with more than 200 undergraduate students using the immersive world of virtual reality. Students donned VR headsets and were transported to the mesmerizing dance of the aura borealis or the northern lights. The awe was palpable, but this time some received information relevant to the awe inspiring scene they had just witnessed, while others were given unrelated information. The results supported the hypothesis. Providing scientific information about the awe inducing event slightly diminished their burgeoning interest in science, suggesting that the mystery and unanswered questions might be the part of what our curiosity drives our curiosity. So I often mention curiosity is the only word which should be your bullseye, and being curious is being human. So it's curiosity which drives us. It's curiosity which helps a child discover hot, cold. It's curiosity which a child, newborn child, figures by touching. It's the curiosity which the newborn child hears. It's the curiosity when the first vision comes to the newborn child. Let me see what this light is about. So it's curiosity which is the key, and that is where awe and awareness come in. These studies paint a vivid picture. It is not just the beauty or grandeur of what we see that captivates us, but the realization of our ignorance and how much more there is to understand. So the next time you gaze at the stars, watch a nature documentary, or stand in the presence of something vast and incomprehensible, remember it's not just a moment of awe, it's a doorway to endless learning and discovery. The path to knowledge begins not with what we know, but with the awe and awareness of all that we do not. So, from awe, we get awareness and our interest builds up. So, awe drives awareness and interest. Wonderful takeaways from this chapter on awareness. We started with the Socrates method, which underscored the importance of acknowledging one ignorance, setting a stage for effective learning. So, first thing is understanding your ignorance. And I'm sure now that we're in almost 3 months of productive failure, we've had a lot of challenges on this where you understood what is your ignorance and how productive failure has been your ignorance. Then the impasses, the roadblocks you feel. You're trying to design an assignment and I'm rejecting your ideas. You're trying to comment and I'm saying, no, don't give me comments. You're trying to share information. I'm saying, don't share information with me. So that's the impasse. We experience significant learning when we encounter impasses, as these moments highlight our knowledge gaps. So as you find your knowledge gaps, you're finding good writing and good way of presenting, which is what we have seen in the Happy Teacher blog today. Challenges and productive failure. The combination of intentionally designed impasses and the concept of productive failure, tackling problems before formal instruction, helping us further recognize and address our knowledge gaps. Intuition failure. When we face situations where our intuition fails, it is not only reinforces our awareness of these gaps, but also pushes us to reevaluate and reconstruct our understanding. Influence of awe. Finally, even without any failure, experiencing awe can magnify our awareness of ignorance, encouraging a more profound interest in learning. I hope we are able to encourage a more profound interest in reading, a more interest in reflection, a more profound way of building relationship. And may our love for each other be the awe we want to take forward. And this awe is helping us learn. That's the whole idea of the Saturday masterclass. In the Saturday masterclass, in your WhatsApp conversation, I've shared the key takeaways. I just need to add the bookmark. I will do that right away. This is not the page. Let me take the next page. So influence of org. Okay. So now we'll start effect next week, please. So I'm putting the bookmark here. So we will start effect next week. So that's our next. I'm adding the bookmark here. I'm going back to your WhatsApp conversation, and that's the bookmark. So the date next week, bookmark, July. So it should be 11th, I guess. No, it'll be 12th. I'm always getting lost between Friday and Saturday. May I urge you to please join us on Fridays. Friday is a conversation, Friday is a meeting, Saturday is a masterclass. Saturday is my monotone. Friday is your chance to meet and greet and talk and take things ahead. And that's why it's called brewing knowledge, where together we brew knowledge. चाय में जब दूध और पत्ती डलती है, चीनी डलती है, चाय का टेस्ट कुछ हद तक इम्प्रूव हो जाता है. And that's what brewing knowledge Friday is. When you share things with us, we share things with you. Taste always improves. That's why I urge you, please join us on Brewing Knowledge Friday. You don't have to pay anything extra. But the beautiful part of Brewing Knowledge Friday is you have interesting stories like the one yesterday, The Merchant and the Parrot. You will love the stories we read from the book of Rumi, 105 stories. We are doing this. In addition, we are reading What Did You Ask at School Today? From the handbook on how you can become a better teacher by understanding your child. It's a book about child psychology. For me, Kamala Mukandaya is one of the most beautiful teachers of modern times. As a psychologist, she understands teaching like not many of us do. So there is a second volume of a book which has just come out. We will do that next. So we intend to do both her books. Do join us on the Brewing Knowledge Fridays. I'm so happy to see so many of you today. We haven't attempted what we call the YouTube live screening of the session as yet, because this is a webinar which anyway 500 people can join. We are hoping to start working on Sundays to go YouTube live, because now we have reached a critical mass of numbers on Sunday. So I urge you that if you find time, join us on Sunday morning. We are reading two more books on Sunday. Manisha, would you like to tell us something about Sunday morning reading?
Yeah, hello, good evening, everyone. Sunday morning, as Sir said, we'll be reading two more books. So one of the book is very near to me. I'll just show you the book. क्या आपका बच्चा? Can you all read the title?
यहाँ थोड़ा दूर ले जाओगे तो पढ़ सकेंगे. हाँ, आप पढ़ सकते हैं.
क्या आपका बच्चा दुनिया का सामना करने के लिए तैयार है? So this is the book which actually tells us about values and how well we are connected to the entire world, and what all we can do and what all other people have done for us, so that we'll be able to relate with their life and gain the knowledge out of it. So this is one of the book. Other book, just Mr. Jugjeev sir is reading, Door to Door Bookstore. So that is also one book which tells us, even a small child, how the small child is able to connect with everyone, how the small child is able to understand the requirement of everyone, and how well she is good at recommending the books to others. So she is the person who is dealing with the door-to-door library or the bookstore kind of thing, and she understands people. So the level of her interpersonal skills tells us that yes, we need to learn something from her. So please join us on Sunday so that you get to understand and learn many things together with all our students. Over to you, sir.
It's a brilliant book where Sasha, a little girl, follows one book delivery person, the Zomato of book delivery. Carl had to take book delivery as a forced profession because he's lost a job from the bookstore he was working, or he was retired out. There was a change of management, so he was retired out. He had spent his entire life in a bookstore, and he knew what every customer liked to read. So what he started doing, he started buying books and delivering to his customers at their doorstep. And for after a few days, he saw a girl was following him, very curious what he was doing. So it's a beautiful conversation between a young person almost entering teens and a grandfather like me who's about 70 years old. It's a fantastic conversation for a teacher and student to experience, and Jugeeb does a great job. You will find some snippets on our Joy of Learning diaries, which is the blog of My Good School. Like you have a Happy Teacher blog for the Teachers Academy, the My Good School blog is Joy of Learning diaries. So please enjoy the Joy of Learning diaries. I will show you the Joy of Learning diaries for a moment to give you a feel of what happens on Sunday. So let us see if we can do that. You have my screen. I will take you from here to Joy of Learning Diaries. So if you see what Manisha mentioned about the book which she is reading, क्या आपका बच्चा दुनिया के लिए तैयार है, is actually giving us wonderful reflections from teachers of the Arthur Foot Academy. Hats off to them. I'm sure you will see how productive failure comes here. These are teachers who are in a village school, who are becoming teachers, and you will appreciate how hard they are working to learn English through Hindi. And look at their graphics. You have learned to do graphics from them, believe me. So if you go here, you'll find very interesting reads. Failure is not an end, it's a new beginning. So that's an interesting article. Then a lot of work which is happening by young people will influence you. And that's why I'm telling you that we have to learn from young people, and you'll be humbled, like in the productive failure, Dr. Manu Kapoor was. You will see some fascinating thoughts on how deeply the children think. Here is a very beautiful post by Nikunj on puberty and perspective. And I'm telling you, as teachers, you haven't thought as far as these children have. You will actually see all that. And this is very interesting. I urge you to even attempt joining us on Sunday. Sunday is absolutely fantastic. And Joy of Learning diaries are a breath of fresh air. On that note, I think I may play this song. Just 1 minute.
It's not audible.
Not audible. Okay. I think it's not audible because we are not in Vimeo. Yeah. Okay. We are not on the Vimeo. It's on Vimeo, so it will work on the Vimeo website. And before we go back to the YouTube and show you the video library. So this is the video library on YouTube. You will see yesterday's session on brain development. It's quite similar to us, but that is the advantage. So if you don't attend the Friday sessions or if you miss your Saturday session, you will find the recording on a YouTube channel, My Good School. A lot of our branding is My Good School simply because that's how we started. So from one My Good School, we became Good School Alliance. In that one My Good School, we had the Learning Forward Learning Program for professional learning, which gave rise to the Teachers Academy where you are. Thank you for being with us on the masterclass. I have enjoyed every bit of it, and I hope you will benefit from the effort you put in, not us. It's your effort, it's your time, it's your purpose, it's your passion, it's your privilege, it's your pride to be here. God bless you and have a wonderful Sunday tomorrow. And yes, do think of joining us. Imran, thank you for that comment. Thank you. Preeti, your wishes coming back to you. Thank you. Tanuja, Jai Hind and good evening. Manisha, thank you for the post of wish. Yeah, I think I have been through the chat box. I haven't missed anything. Anything anyone wants to say, I'm happy to. Just put your hand up. I'm happy to unmute you, allow you to talk. I'd love for someone to talk. Let's have a volunteer to talk for 1 minute. You want to do a dipstick as to how this productive failure is working for you, how reading this book is helping you understand your own self, and that's your productive failure. You weren't able to understand yourself. Anyone who wishes to talk, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. It will make our hard work even more fruitful when we get a direct feedback from you. And feedback is what makes us. Productive failure is nothing but feedback. We appreciate your conversation. Anyone, any volunteer who would like to talk, please put your hand up. Manisha, this is a silent class. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Tanuja, for coming in.
Mm. Good evening and Jain sir.
Jai Hind, Tanuja.
So really this topic is very fruitful for all of us for our daily life actually we can say. Yesterday was my assembly for my class and I have to arrange this and the topic was overcoming failure and sir I have correlated this topic to my assembly topic and it was really very interesting. I thought that it is now very easy to understand this fact that how we can overcome this challenge and this failure and how just failure the meaning of actually the meaning of failure is the opportunity to proceed, or you can we can say that it's not the failure is not the failure, actually it is the first, we can say that attempt, the first attempt, the opportunity to progress.
You said a
So
very nice thing. I'm sure you will now see failure as an optimistic word.
yes sir, obviously,
All
obviously.
this while we saw failure as a negative word.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see the misconception. We're always looking at failure as a misconception. We think failing is like खत्म हो
Yes.
गई जिंदगी.
Mm-hmm.
पर कहते तो
Yeah.
है हर हार के आगे जीत है, हर डर के आगे हिम्मत है,
Yes.
जोश है.
Obviously, sir. Obviously.
That
Thank
is
you.
the true thing, and I'm glad you got this example. और आप देखो
Mm-hmm.
कहानियां कितनी अच्छी हैं इसमें. The stories he narrates of his personal life,
Yes,
and
sir. Yes, sir.
somewhere he's narrated, actually he's separated from his wife also. So as today he's talked about his Chinese wife and Indian wife. India China अलग भी हो जाती हैं. They don't live together
Mm-hmm.
anymore. So they're separated. So this is a very interesting story about their productive failure. How India China as married couple also couldn't pull along for whatever reason. So as we go along, we'll find that. So Manu Kapoor has mentioned that in one of his failures of his life that he couldn't pull through on that. So for us
Mm-hmm.
teachers, I think our personal experience shape us as much as our professional experience shape us. And I'm
Sir,
sure
actually, the failure meaning is that the first attempt in learning under real life experience. So it's actually meaning the just same failure. First attempt in learning under the real life experience. So it's a just real life experience, sir.
आप देखो ना मैम, बच्चा जब पैदा होता है, आई जस्ट बीन ब्लेस्ड विद अ ग्रैंडसन. हमें समझ नहीं आता वो रोता क्यों है. हम ट्राई करते हैं कि कोई कहेगा दूध पिला दो, कोई कहेगा गर्मी लग रही है उसको, कोई कहेगा उसका नापी बदल दो. सो वो सब प्रोडक्टिव फेलियर है. ट्राइंग टू फाइंड कि रो क्यों रहा है.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a real life experience only,
हाँ,
the sir.
उसमें से कुछ भी हो सकता है.
Obviously.
So that's why
Thank you.
we get failure. Because failure on our part, वो जोर से रोए जा रहे हैं, रोए जा रहे हैं, रोए जा रहे हैं. अरे हमें समझ नहीं आ रहा, सारा नेबरहुड हिल गया, बच्चा रो रहा है, सारी रात रोया बच्चा. So
Why does he cry? Nobody knows.
why the child cried, nobody knows, and that's productive failure. और हम सोचते रहते हैं उसको भूख लगी. That's all we can
Hmm.
think of. We can't
Hmm.
think of anything else. Anyway, wonderful session. Thank you so much. We
Hmm.
will meet next Saturday. Thank you to my co-panelist Manisha. Great to be at the Saturday masterclass. I missed you all last Saturday, but I had to cradle a child for a few minutes to understand it's my grandchild. Thank you for bearing with me. God bless you all. Enjoy the evening.
Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow at 10:30 sharp.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.